New Zealand has joined Britain and Australia in laying the blame for a wave of global cyber attacks at the door of Russian military intelligence, or called the GRU. The high-profile attacks targeted political, business and sporting organisations as well as the media. While the GCSB says New Zealand has not been the direct target of these activities, it is seeing, quote, a range of activity here that contains indicators which can be linked to Russian state actors. The Director General of the GCSB, Andrew Hampton, says businesses and organisations need to take responsibility for their own safety. I spoke to him a short time ago and asked him what provoked today's announcement.
The reason I'm talking today is because the New Zealand government is very concerned about this type of activity, and one of the things we can do to express our concern is to speak publicly with like-minded countries, calling out this type of behaviour and saying that we do expect all countries to comply with the appropriate modes of behaviour when it comes to cyber activity, to cyberspace.
Okay, so and in that release that you've sent out today, you list a number of things that have happened in the past. You go back to the Democratic Party's hacking in 2016. You even mention, I guess, what's it called, the malware one, Bad Rabbit, and of course the World Anti-Doping Agency's hacking of athletes' information. So these go back to 2016. I think there was even one that went back to 2015 there. Yeah. So how long have you known that these sorts of events have links to the Russian government?
We have known for some time, for several years, that
well, that's not really what we've got from our own government at times, is it? I mean, we had some very ambiguous statements earlier this year, but particularly ahead of the Prime Minister's trip to the European Union and to Europe about Russia's involvement in hacking. Do you share this information regularly with the government?
The government made a pretty strong statement earlier in the year regarding Russian cyber activity with regard to the NotPetya cyber attack. You may be aware of that. That was focused on the Ukraine, but it actually had a global impact. New Zealand added its voice to that of other like-minded countries, calling out that type of behaviour, saying it's not acceptable. In terms of what the Bureau has seen, we release our annual cyber threat summary. The most recent one said that we had seen about 400 cyber incidents in the space of the 2016-17 year. Of those, 120 actually had indicators of state sponsors behind them.
And how many of them were from Russia? Can you tell us how many?
A significant number.
A significant number were from Russia, right. And you're also saying today that you're seeing a range of activity in New Zealand that contains indicators which can be linked to Russian state actors. Back at that time where those comments were made about the NotPetya attack, the Prime Minister said she was confident that there were no Russian spies in New Zealand. But really what you're saying is there are at least proxy Russian spies in New Zealand.
No, that's not what I'm saying. In the cyber world, you do not need to be resident in New Zealand in order to launch a cyber attack or to undertake malicious cyber activity. Indeed, New Zealand is subject to cyber attacks mostly from people who are resident outside of our country. So what our release is saying is that we have seen indicators, if you like, fingerprints of types of malware which the GRU is using, that's Russian military intelligence, is using with regard to these four organisations. We're seeing those same indicators in New Zealand. Fortunately, in the cases, at least the ones that we have seen, we have been able to disrupt that before they've been able to get on systems.
Okay, so we've got a fairly good track record there in terms of being able to defend ourselves. How confident are you, though, that we do have the right tools to keep mounting defences, given we've got some pretty formidable cyber enemies here like Russia?
You're dead right, and with regard to the threatscape, that there are significant cyber actors out there who don't necessarily share New Zealand's interests. That's the first point. Secondly, the nature of cyber threats are evolving at the same speed as technology is evolving, so it's constantly changing. We are fortunate as a country in that we have not been subject to a significant cyber event in the way many other countries have, including, as we discussed before, WannaCry and NotPetya. They didn't have a big impact on New Zealand, but that doesn't mean that we are safe from such attacks. And cybersecurity is a team sport. GCSB, we're focused on those high-end, persistent, complex threats, normally the state-sponsored ones. We have some capabilities which we think are providing a reasonable degree of protection. The government has recently agreed to extend the Cortex capability through a program called Malware Free Network to even more organisations. But the fact is, every individual, every business, they need to take responsibility themselves, because it may not be one of those state-sponsored actors that gets you. It could be your low-end internet scam, or it could be a criminal actor.
Right, so you're saying that you're quite concerned, although you've got the right tools, you're asking the business community and everyone to take care. The vibe I'm getting from you really is that it's only a matter of time before New Zealand is the subject of one of these more advanced attacks.
Well, look, we see evidence of those types of actors on New Zealand networks all the time. Fortunately, they haven't been that successful at getting in. Part of keeping us safe from those attacks is, yes, the type of high-end capabilities that the Bureau can provide, the commercial products that are available, but it's also what people themselves do. The very basic stuff is is the best stuff you can do to keep yourself safe. Update your password recently. Always make sure that you have the most recent security patches running on your system. Limit who you give access to your systems and to your devices. Be careful what you plug into it. Those quite basic mitigations will protect you from 85% of cyber issues.
That's the Director General of the Government Communications Security Bureau, Andrew Hampton. We also asked him whether the GCSB would seek to broaden its powers here in light of the threats and in light of moves in the UK to remove encryption from some social media apps. Now, he said the powers brought in with the 2013 Telecommunications Interception Capability and Security Act, known as the Spying Act, are sufficient.